Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling that oh-so-familiar feeling, wanting to achieve big things, having those ambitious goals, but then, well, feeling that undeniable pull of the couch.
The ambition is there, but the action, maybe not so much.
Exactly. And you, our listener, shared some really great material on this, specifically around this whole idea of being ambitious but lazy. We've got stuff from the English Leap podcast and some related chats.
Right. So our mission today is to really, get under the skin of why this happened.
And more importantly, explore how you can actually bridge that gap, between the dreaming and the doing.
Precisely. We looked at a YouTube transcript featuring Aaron and Evan from the English Leap podcast. That was on the Speak English with Class channel.
Oh, yeah. They really dove into this, didn't they? And they had Charlotte on for vocabulary, too.
They did. And we also have some excerpts mentioning Jerry and Tom from Beyond the Mic. They were also discussing this ambitious but lazy thing, actually prompted by that same English Leap podcast.
Right. So let's get personal for a sec.
Okay.
Have you ever felt that? You've got these fantastic visions, right? Like learning a new language, starting that project.
Getting fit, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But then, oops, you're scrolling Instagram again, or you've put off the actual work, feeling like the energy it just isn't there.
Oh, definitely. If that sounds familiar to anyone listening, yeah, you're in the right place. We're really going to dig into this.
Okay, so let's define this first. What is being ambitious but lazy?
Well, both our sources shed light on this. Jerry and Tom from Beyond the Mic, they really hit it on the head, referencing the English Leap stuff. They talked about wanting success.
Those big dreams, the visions.
Yeah, picturing that ideal outcome. Maybe it's about money or freedom,
That mental ambition, absolutely. You can see the finish line, almost taste the victory.
But then there's the flip side, the reality, as Aaron and Evan highlight, and Jerry and Tom agree.
Instead of actually doing the work,
you're scrolling. You're finding ways to put it off, maybe binge watching something. Again. Yeah. And Jerry and Tom had this great phrase for it. Mental ambition with physical laziness.
Ooh, I like that. Big goals, but zero movement towards them.
Exactly. The blueprint's detailed in your head, but construction hasn't started.
It's like your brain's running a marathon, but your body's still on the starting block. You know what you want, maybe even how to get there.
But there's this inertia, right? This resistance to taking that very first step.
Which brings us neatly to one of the first big hurdles our sources mention. This whole trap of waiting for motivation.
Oh, this is huge. Aaron and Evan really nailed how unreliable motivation is. They called it like chasing a mirage in the desert.
That's good. Get that burst of energy maybe after watching a motivational video.
Right. But then, as Evan shared, just a few minutes later, you're totally sidetracked, lost in YouTube shorts or something.
Oh, tell me about it. You feel so inspired, you make this massive list, and then an hour later, where did that feeling go?
Exactly. Evan had that funny story, didn't he? Watched a video about being unstoppable.
Yeah. Made the list, lit the candle for atmosphere.
And then decided, you know what? A nap sounds good right now.
It's hilarious because it's so relatable.
It perfectly shows the danger, though. Confusing feeling inspired with actually doing something. As Aaron said, that feeling is deceptive.
It feels like progress, just thinking about it, but you haven't actually moved.
And the key insight here, from both sets of hosts really, is about momentum. It's not waiting for inspiration.
Right. Jerry and Tom mentioned needing momentum, too.
Yeah. It's the act of starting that gets things going. Evan said if he just makes himself write one sentence or read one paragraph,
his brain kind of kicks into gear.
Exactly. It wakes up, it engages. So don't wait for the perfect mood. Just start small. Do something.
That makes sense. Progress starts with a decision, not a feeling.
Precisely.
Okay. So another thing that tricks us up. Aaron and Evan called it fear with good branding. Let's talk about perfectionism.
Yes. The great disguise artist. I just have high standards.
Right. But as Aaron pointed out, it often just keeps you stuck. He admitted seeing it as pride, but really it was just a barrier.
A huge barrier. Evan's example was brilliant, taking 3 weeks to post a 2-minute video.
Because it was worried about his tone. Whether it sounded authoritative enough?
Yeah. Classic perfectionism, paralyzing action. You're so scared of it not being perfect, you do nothing.
And Aaron's story about having this whole TED Talk planned in his head.
Perfectly rehearsed internally.
But then someone just asks, how are you doing? And he freezes.
It shows how all that mental energy on imaginary perfection stops you getting real experience.
It's like Aaron's cake analogy, trying to bake the perfect cake without even getting the flour out.
You're just imagining this flawless result, but you're not actually, mixing anything.
And for language learners, this is so crucial. Don't wait to sound like a native speaker before you speak.
Absolutely not. Aaron and Evan's advice: swap perfect for progress.
Speak now, make mistakes, learn from them. That's how you actually improve.
That's the real path. So yeah, stop dreaming about the perfect cake recipe.
Just start baking, even if it's a bit messy.
Action, even messy action, is the only way forward.
Okay, so we've tackled motivation, dodged perfectionism. Smooth sailing now.
Not quite. Another big one Aaron and Evan flagged is overwhelm.
Yes. Setting way too many goals at once.
Suddenly it feels like you need to go in 15 directions simultaneously.
And the result? You just freeze. Paralyzed by the sheer size of it all.
They called it goal bloating. Trying to do so much you end up doing, well, nothing.
I've totally done that. Made these amazing plans, color-coded everything.
Bought all the fancy organizers.
And then spent hours watching YouTube videos about how to be productive instead of actually being productive.
Aaron's anecdote about setting 12 goals for the month and achieving 0, even though his desk was spotless, that illusion of productivity is sneaky.
It really is. And Jerry and Tom mentioned this too, right? That feeling of just not knowing where to start with a huge goal.
Yeah, like fluency in a language or starting a business, it's daunting, especially if you're trying to do too many things. It just leads to feeling stuck.
Aaron and Evan had that analogy of juggling water balloons.
Right. Trying to hold too many means you can't catch any properly.
So the answer is streamline. Pick one thing.
Exactly. Choose one main focus, especially for learning, like they said with English. Don't try to master pronunciation, grammar, or vocabulary, everything all at once.
Pick one area for the week. Maybe.
Yeah. That focus lets progress actually build up. It's about reducing the noise, directing your energy to one manageable step, one win at a time.
Okay, streamline. Got it. But what about when you have narrowed it down, you know your target, and you're ready? But then you find other ways to avoid it.
Procrastination in disguise. The productivity trap.
Tell me more.
Aaron and Evan described it as, convincing yourself you're doing important prep work, researching the best way, planning the perfect strategy.
But really, you're just putting off the actual work, like organizing your toolbox instead of building the thing.
Exactly. You feel busy, maybe even productive, but nothing real is getting done on the core goal.
Oh man, I do this. Spend ages researching the optimal approach when just starting would be better.
And it happens with language learning too, right? Hours looking for the perfect app, organizing notes.
Instead of actually speaking or listening. Guilty again.
So the key question to ask yourself is, am I preparing or am I postponing?
Ouch. That's a tough one.
It is, but necessary. Their advice: start messy.
So do it.
Speak one sentence, watch a video, and repeat something. One tiny, real action, not just the illusion of action.
Okay, start messy. I like that. But sometimes, even without the busy work, we get stuck just thinking.
Overthinking, analysis paralysis, that's another big energy drain.
Right, like mentally rehearsing something over and over instead of just doing it.
Aaron's example was planning an email response all night, rewriting it in his head.
And then waking up exhausted having never actually sent it.
Exactly. I've totally done that. It's this invisible fatigue. You burn through your mental energy before you even start the task.
And for learners, it's those worries, isn't it? What if I mess up? Will they understand? What if I forget words?
You mentally navigate all the potential disasters and talk yourself out of even trying.
So what's the fix?
Well, Aaron and Evan suggest planning is good, but only up to a point. After that, it's paralysis.
So stop thinking so much.
Kind of. They suggested a brain dump. Just write down all those swirling thoughts, get them out,
Right.
and then commit to one tiny action, just one small thing to break the cycle. Because doing, even imperfectly, teaches way more than overthinking ever will.
Mistakes are part of learning, right?
Absolutely essential.
You know, all these things waiting for motivation, perfectionism, overwhelm, procrastination, overthinking, they all seem to lead back to something deeper, don't they?
They do. And Aaron and Evan really brought this out. Often what looks like laziness, it's actually fear in disguise.
Wow, okay. That feels true.
It's a powerful insight. Aaron shared his own experience, staring at the screen, calling it tiredness.
But knowing deep down, it was fear. Fear his work wouldn't be good enough.
Exactly. Fear is immobilizing. It makes not trying feel safer than risking failure.
And that fear shows up in all those ways we just talked about, putting things off, overthinking, avoiding.
For learners, it's that I'll speak when I'm more confident feeling or worrying about sounding silly.
But the truth is, fear is normal.
Completely normal. And the only way out, as they said, is through it. Consciously moving forward, even just a tiny bit.
Taking that small step.
Yeah. Speaking up once, asking one question, making a mistake and carrying on. That's not weakness, that's bravery in action. It might even trigger that Zeigarnik effect you mentioned, that urge to finish what we start.
So if we recognize the fear, the next step is making it easy to face it. Setting ourselves up for success.
Yes, that's crucial. The key isn't always brute force willpower. It's lowering the barrier to entry, making the first step ridiculously easy.
Like Aaron's analogy, trying to climb a mountain in slippers.
Right. You wouldn't want to start. But if the first step is just putting on your hiking boots, that feels doable.
It increases the chance you'll take the next step.
Precisely. For Aaron, wanting to read more became simply putting the book on his nightstand. Easy first step.
So for language learning, instead of study grammar for an hour,
maybe it's just learn one new phrase today. Or keep your notebook open on your desk.
put the language app on your phone's home screen.
Yes. Reduce the friction. Make starting effortless. As they emphasized, these tiny actions compound. Habits build through smart design, not just sheer grit.
Make it easy, make it visible, let momentum build.
You got it.
Okay, and to help us really lock in these ideas, Charlotte from the English Leap podcast shared some great vocabulary, didn't she?
She did. Really useful words that tie into this whole ambitious but lazy theme. She mentioned quirk.
Like those little habits that fuel our procrastination.
Exactly. And mirage for that unreliable motivation we talked about.
And momentum.
The key force to keep us going once we start. And obviously perfectionism, that barrier to starting.
She also had stumble, right? That reminder that mistakes are normal.
Yes, stumbling is part of progress, not failure. And streamline, making goals manageable.
And mental clutter. That feeling from overwhelm and overthinking.
Yep. Then there was disguise for how fear can hide as laziness.
Okay, and overwhelm itself.
That feeling of having too much to do, and frustration, which is so common when we hit roadblocks.
Right. And finally, friction.
Those obstacles that just make things feel harder.
And Charlotte's key advice was to actually use these words, wasn't it?
Yeah, actively use them in your English. It helps embed the concepts and boost your learning.
Definitely. The more you use them, the more you get it.
Absolutely.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, what's the big takeaway? It seems like moving from ambitious but lazy to actually driven isn't about finding some magic motivation pill.
Or suddenly becoming perfect overnight. No.
It's more about understanding these traps, isn't it? Waiting for motivation, perfectionism, overwhelm.
Disguised procrastination, overthinking, and that underlying fear. Recognizing them is the first step.
And the real power then comes from what? Starting small.
Starting small, definitely.
Yeah.
Building momentum, embracing progress, even the stumble.
Rather than chasing perfection.
Exactly. And making that first step just incredibly easy. Designing your way into action.
Okay. So, a challenge for everyone listening. What's one tiny action, however small, you can take today for a goal you've been putting off?
Don't overthink it. Just pick one tiny thing.
And do it before the day's out.
Yeah. And one final thought to chew on. How often is what feels like low motivation, actually? Maybe just fear hiding?
Ooh.
What might change if you met that fear with curiosity and just committed to one tiny, tiny step forward?
Something to really think about. Yeah. Powerful stuff.